In this video, we provide the simplest and most accurate explanation of Forsage. By the end, you'll be an expert on this platform and easily be able to explain it to others. But before we get started, please consider subscribing to the channel and hit the notification bell so you'll never miss out on any new content and informative updates. There is considerable confusion surrounding this platform. So what is Forsage really? It's a peer-to-peer crowdfunding platform that utilizes Ethereum to transfer payments from a contributor to a campaign. Why Ethereum? Because of its support of smart contracts in its protocol. Smart contracts are automated agreements between parties based on an if this, then that set of rules. If you ever logged into a website, you are already familiar with this concept. If you enter the correct password, then the site will grant you access. This contractual feature of Ethereum has endless applications. Any financial, legal, organizational, or procedural matter can be easily automated where human interaction is omitted from the contractual process and the agreement is recorded on the Ethereum blockchain. Forsage is crowdfunding technology, which is similar to Kickstarter, Indiegogo, GoFundMe, and countless others, but far from equal. Traditional platforms regulate campaigns, control funds, and retain a significant percentage fee for providing the service. Forsage, on the other hand, is a direct peer-to-peer or contributor-to-campaign service with zero cost. They do not regulate or control campaigns, and the funds raised can be used for any purpose. In fact, Forsage literally means to give up or relinquish. They generously built the platform and gave it freely to the people. The automated Ethereum smart contract protocol are what establish transparency and decentralized trust between the users. This is crowdfunding 2.0, where these traditional services will soon be reevaluating their business model. And while Forsage is the first to think outside the box in crowdfunding, they certainly will not be the last. With 400,000 campaigns created within the first 20 weeks of their launch, at now a staggering rate of 13,000 per day, to use a Game of Thrones analogy, competition is coming. The most confusion surrounding Forsage resides in fully understanding their platform. What you are looking at is the entire structure of the platform. It is divided into two programs, X3 and X4. The confusion stems from what you can't see from this view, which is what I'm about to explain. First, you will notice 12 levels, or slots as Forsage calls them, in both of the programs with a specific amount of Ethereum associated with each slot. This ranges from 0.025 Ethereum in slot 1 and doubles each slot up to 51.2 ETH in slot 12. Let's take a closer look at slot 1 in X3. Forsage maintains anonymity with its users through only identifying them with an ID number. Here you see ID number 1. Which was the very first campaign launched on the platform in January 2020. At the time of this screenshot, you can see ID number 1 received 66.55 ETH with the associated USD value. Clicking on the right or left arrows scrolls through the various slots. It is this graphical structure with circles and dashed lines that is causing all the confusion. When people see this, they automatically think matrix. And while there are relational connections between contributors and campaigns, Forsage should not be confused with a matrix. The history function holds the key to unlocking the mystery. Next to the up or down arrows, which scroll forward or back in history respectively, you will notice the number 1322. This records how many times this exact structure you are looking at, and nothing more, has been reset. At the time of this screenshot, 5 months have passed since ID number 1 launched their campaign, In other words, it is the 1,322nd reset. You will also notice that ID 2 occupies the first contributor placement. If we click the down arrow, we go back in time one reset. But wait a minute, why is ID number 2 now occupying 2 of these contributor placements, and ID number 352769 is right next to them? Or if we click the down arrow yet again, IDs 2, 352257, and 5 now occupy these placements. What is going on here? If we click the up arrow once on the latest reset, we go all the way back in history to the very first reset screen. If you look at the bottom of this list of contributions, you will see the very first automated Ethereum transaction on January 19, 2020, from ID number 2 to ID number 1 for 0.025 Ethereum with the associated USD value. Simple enough. But look at this vertical list of IDs. As you work up the list from the bottom, you see ID 2, 3, 4, 5. But wait, where is ID number 6? And after ID number 7, why does it jump back to ID number 2 again, and then skip up to ID number 5? For that matter, where are IDs number 8 through 25, or 27 through 30, or 32 to 34, etc.? What is happening here? Let's look at the structure again, but this time from a different perspective. Imagine you are ID number 2 and launched a campaign on Forsage. Awesome, you just received your first contribution. That Ethereum payment will equate to 50% of unlocking your next level slot. The next contribution your campaign received will equate to the other 50%. You now have 100% of the Ethereum needed to unlock your next slot, where the smart contract will automatically do so upon sending it peer-to-peer to whomever told you about Forsage. In this case, that is ID number 1. When the third supporter contributes to your campaign, the smart contract automatically resets this slot. Now every contribution your campaign receives from this point forward can be utilized as you see fit. You can use it to unlock other slots in either X3 or X4, or send the funds through your Ethereum exchange and convert it to fiat currency and spend it. When the third contribution comes in, again, the slot resets, allowing for more contributions. Now, let's walk through this process once more. Only this time, I want you to visualize it three-dimensionally. Here's the first contribution to your campaign, utilized for unlocking 50% of your next slot. The second provides the other 50%, where the smart contract now unlocks the next slot. The third resets the slot, creating an entirely new structure. Now the contributions are directed into your campaign. And the third contribution resets the slot, again creating an entirely new structure. Now, what is the connection between all of these repeating structures? Time. This structure resets again and again, allowing for you to receive an endless number of contributions that you have full control of how you wish to utilize the funding. The X4 structure is a little different, but automatically works in the exact same way. The first two contributions go to whomever told you about Forsage, or ID number 1 in this example. The next two unlock your next slot. The fifth goes directly into your campaign, and the sixth resets by sending funds to ID number 1. Once unlocked, all three of the contributions in blue go directly into your campaign. And just like the X3, the X4 structure resets again and again, allowing for you to receive an endless number of contributions that you have full control of how you wish to utilize the funding. Now when you look back at this structural view of Forsage, two things should come to mind. The first is that these circles are not positions, but contributions. We know this from previously witnessing ID number 2 occupying 2 of these locations. In fact, ID 2, or any ID number, can occupy any or all of these contribution locations depending on how fast they themselves are resetting. The faster they reset their contribution slots, the more times they will appear. This was verified when ID number 2 occupied multiple contribution locations in the ID list. Remember, we were going back in time one reset and noticed ID number 2 in 2 of those locations. Below you see another example of this taken from X4, where ID number 64 resides in multiple locations. If this is so, then that technically means that any ID can fall into any or all of these locations based on reset frequency, but most importantly, because they only represent a contribution, not a placement. This additionally explains why there were missing ID numbers in the list. This is because they were simply told about Forsage from some other ID number other than ID 1 in this case. The second thing that should now be blatantly obvious is that this demonstrates proof that Forsage is not a matrix. If it's not a matrix, then it can't be a pyramid. If it's neither a matrix or a pyramid, then it can't be multi-level. And due to the fact that every contribution transaction is executed automatically through the smart contract protocol, which is openly recorded for everyone on the planet to see on the blockchain for themselves, Forsage cannot possibly be a Ponzi, as the automation and transparency alone defies the very definition. So what is it? Well, now that you are keenly aware to visualize the structure three-dimensionally, the Forsage structure is simply a histogram, which is nothing more than a graphical representation of a data set over time, or in their case, a more engaging visual way to understand the mundane contribution transaction list over time. If you want to see verified documentation of any transaction, simply click the link next to any contribution wallet address, and you will be taken to Etherscan, which resides outside of Forsage, where all Ethereum transactions are openly recorded. This provides full transparency that every contribution truly is peer-to-peer and completely untouched by human interaction. Now you may be asking yourself why. Why go through all this trouble? Why not just stay with the old model, like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or GoFundMe? For one, these platforms take 5 to 8% or more out of the raised funds for themselves simply for providing the platform. They have total control over these funds and regulate campaigns. You need to compete with other campaigns for funds. If these platforms don't agree or like what you're raising money for, they retain the right to end your campaign. If you do not raise enough interest to meet your target goal, your campaign is canceled and they return the funds, although they financially benefit from the funds until that point. There is also a significant cost in developing the campaign description copy and supportive materials such as videos, graphics, data, research, business plans, and prototypes. Forsage simply came up with a better solution to crowdfunding. They built an automated system using the trusted off-the-shelf technology of Ethereum's smart contract protocol. They don't take a percentage for themselves. They relinquish control of the platform to the users. They'll never cancel a campaign and don't care what your funding need may be. There is also zero cost for the users, as they never need to spend all that time and money competing with others for funding. Additionally, in order to spread the word about their revolutionary technology, Forsage built the structure we just extensively discussed as an incentive to tell others. This is the driving force and brilliance, I might add, to their solution. Would you contribute to someone's campaign if you could then in turn start your own and no one would question what you're utilizing the funds for? Buy a car, build a house, take a vacation, pay your bills or rent, whatever you want. Then you tell others about Forsage and they could do the same. This technically reverses the one-way street of traditional crowdfunding platforms where funding only flows into campaigns. Forsage, on the other hand, is creating a two-way street where both the campaign and contributors equally benefit. This is simply a much better solution to the hurdles of raising money and allows for crowdfunding to be far more widespread and viewed much differently. It's crowdfunding 2.0, where everybody benefits. And that's why it should now be very clear to you why they created these structures. When one person tells another who is otherwise unaware of this platform, the recipient of that information benefits as they can launch their own campaign. In return for sharing the platform, a supporter with the second campaign benefits the first by way of a contribution. This creates a two-way street where both campaigns benefit by helping each other in this new era of crowdfunding, where errant human decisions and centralized control are removed from the equation. Motivation to share Forsage is increased in the X4 structure, but the structure itself remains the driving force behind its implementation. Remember, what is actually happening in Forsage is acquiring Ethereum to fund campaigns, which will then entirely or partially be converted to your country's fiat currency and spent. Let's look at that part of the equation. This is for illustrative purposes only and not a promise, claim, or guarantee of funding. If you want to accumulate Ethereum, it will take effort. But here is an idea of what that might look like. Pause the video over the next couple slides to study it further. But let's focus on X3 for a moment, and the rest will all make sense. On the right is a simple explanation of the X3 program taken directly from their site, which you are now already familiar with. The left provides basic information of the 12 slots, the amount of Ethereum contributions that each slot can receive, and the associated USD value in this fictitious example. The middle section provides more specifics of the Ethereum required to unlock the same level slots in both the X3 and X4 program expressed in dollars, the cumulative total up to each level for campaigns that wish to accommodate larger contributions right away, and the dollar equivalents of Ethereum received from supporters of your campaign per slot. As previously discussed, the first two contributions to a campaign on each slot level unlock the next highest slot, which is twice the amount of Ethereum. This is why you need two of these contributions. Once unlocked, all contributions at any unlocked slot level can be immediately spent on whatever you wish. This process continues through all the slots so that your campaign can receive higher and higher contributions that you did not have to fund out of your own pocket in order to receive. When your campaign receives the third supporter's contribution, it resets that level as previously demonstrated. This again can happen over and over, allowing your campaign to receive that level's amount of endless Ethereum contributions. Now that you fully understand the fundamentals of the X3 program, take a moment and stop the video to review the slight variation in X4. These charts reflect the process of you starting a campaign on Forsage that requires a minimal amount of Ethereum contributed directly peer-to-peer from you to whomever told you about their campaign on the platform. In turn, when you inform others of your new campaign, those supporters' contributions are what unlocks all of the slots. You are not bound by this process. If you only choose to unlock a few of the slots, that is completely up to you. Forsage accommodates campaigns with funding goals across the entire spectrum. For those who wish to utilize this unlocking process all the way through the entire 12 slots, you will see at the bottom the amount of Ethereum sent and the amount received. The amount received is the total of everything shown in green in the charts. Once all 12 slots are unlocked, your campaign will not have to direct any more contributions to this unlocking process, thereby allowing your campaign to benefit from 100% of the contribution from that point forward. Again, this is shown by everything in green and totaled below. This chart shows the amount of Ethereum in each slot of the X3 and X4 programs with associated totals. This is technically what is being contributed to your campaign, which brings up a very important point. Ethereum is very different than fiat currency such as the dollar, pound, euro, yen, ruble. It fluctuates in price based on its market value. The more valuable the market equates to its usability, the higher the price. Since a growing number of companies and organizations across the globe are utilizing Ethereum smart contracts more and more every day into their daily operations, the value of Ethereum will most likely increase over time. What happens if the amount of Ethereum your campaign received doubled in value over the next year? What if it tripled? What if it was 5 or 10 times its current value next year? Impossible? Many prognosticators are suggesting an Ethereum value of $9,000 over the next 12 to 24 months based on this greater adoption of Ethereum as a currency and its smart contract protocol capabilities. I'll let you have fun with the math on that prediction, but what that really means is that your campaign is not receiving monetary contributions. It is technically receiving a digital asset that could also tremendously increase in monetary value. Forsage is a technology that could not have been more perfectly timed. It launched in January 2020, about a month before the global health crisis, which literally shut down economies all across the world. It will take years to fully understand the total economic devastation, but we currently know for certain there are countless millions out of work and in desperate financial need. Some businesses are likewise paying a heavy financial price during this crisis. Many may never recover or return. This is why Forsage may soon prove to be not only the largest crowdfunding platform in the world, but the single greatest financial lifeline to help millions through this crisis and beyond. Governments are certainly not doing anything significant in that effort and are instead politicizing minimal assistance for their own gain. Do politicians really think people can live off a couple $100s a month while they continue to lock down the entire country and cities? Widespread financial devastation is going to be epic and potentially only just the beginning. Forsage does not care who you are, what you need the funds for, or set a time frame on any campaign. You can start today with the fundamental purpose of raising funds for your next meal. Additional contributions could pay for some of your urgent bills. As you share this platform more with others in need, who in turn start their own campaigns where you become their hero for sharing it, those additional funds into your campaign could build enough to pay all of your monthly bills, your rent, your mortgage, pay for repairs on your car or buy a new vehicle, save for a vacation, start or expand a business, satisfy payroll, lease, and insurance, and the list goes on and on. The bottom line is this: if you need funds for any reason, regardless of who you are, Forsage is one possible solution to take a serious look at. During this crisis, 500,000 campaigns were launched that are now helping individuals, companies, and numerous organizations tap into this new type of crowdfunding. It's time to get your campaign launched and included in this new movement. We hope you benefited from the simplest explanation of Forsage and now fully understand it is technically nothing more than automated crowdfunding for any purpose. Our expertise is researching, evaluating, developing informative tools, and educating our members of emerging technologies, and simply wanted to clear up all the bad information encircling this platform found on YouTube and the internet. We remain focused on the big picture of whether or not a business model is sustainable and will truly benefit people, and always avoid the shiny object syndrome. We closely follow global news and developments in key industries that provide valuable insight. We are a supportive community that aggregates our collective talents toward common and individual goals. And most importantly, no one ever goes it alone. If you're looking for a place to call home in this increasingly confusing and difficult economic environment, reach out to us at this email address. We welcome anyone willing to put forth the necessary effort to change the trajectory of their financial future and help others along that same journey. Thanks for watching.